Welcome back, guys. This is Tony with T's Tools and Repairs. We're going to be doing an AC compressor on this 2008 Ford F450 with a 6.4 liter diesel motor. This also works from 2008 to 2010, 250, 350, 450, and 550 trucks with a 6.4 liter. So let's get to it. All right, first thing we're going to do is come to the passenger side. We're going to remove the air box. So it's going to be one 8mm nut right there. Disconnect the mass airflow sensor. Disconnect this and then remove it. That we're going to do is we're going to remove the fender liner and then also jack up the vehicle. Alright, now that we have the vehicle jacked up and on a jack stand, we're going to go ahead and remove the tire to have a little bit more room and then also remove the fender liner. All right, now that we removed the tire, got that out of the way, we're gonna focus on the fender liner. It's pretty explanatory. Just take out the bolts, nuts, clips, whatever it has. You really don't have to take off this side. You can only take off like half, like this side, and then just put it behind the caliper. That way you can work on the AC compressor. All right, so this is how it's gonna look. You have the fender line folded back. And it was 8mm and 5.5mm sockets to take off the fender liner for me. That was only a couple bolts to get it to where it's at. Now you have a easier view of where the compressor is, and then you have the alternator right above it. All right, we have everything prepped and ready to go to where we can start accessing things. The next step and very important step that we're going to do is we're going to evacuate in the system. So we'll use the evacuation machine to evacuate all the Freon inside the lines. This is the high side. The low side is going to be right here, right below the PCM. We do have some Freon in there. Now we're going to disconnect both batteries because we're going to be taking off the alternator. So we'll disconnect the batteries and then we'll disconnect this nut here for the power, and then we'll disconnect the plug and remove the 2 bolts on the bottom and the 1 bolt at the top for the alternator. All right, the battery is disconnected. What I have here is a 15mm socket on a wobble extension to get the 3 15mm bolts out. right, next we're gonna remove the stabilizing shock for the steering, which is gonna be right here, where we're gonna remove this bolt and then also this bolt. And it'll come right up. 18mm wrench, and you'll hold the top nut just like that, and then you'll get a 15mm socket with an impact, or that's what I'm going to use, and break this nut off to get this side out. We can finally start working on taking the AC compressor out. What we're gonna do is take off the belt first, and the tensioner bear with me, is gonna be right here where my laser is. Maybe you can get a better look at it. It's gonna be this right here. It's for the belt tensioner. This is how I have the belt tool set up. I have, I don't know if you can see right here is where I have a 3/8 attachment on the belt tensioner, and then I have it coming back in front of the pulley, and then I have the bar sticking down, and if I pull on the bar backwards like this, I release the tension. All right, now after we took the belt off, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the two hoses off of the AC compressor. One is gonna be right here at 13mm, and the other one's gonna be right here at 13mm. I'll show you what I use to get that off. And this is why it's important to take out the alternator. You can just use I have a long, cheapo Amazon swivel socket by Queso Man, 13mm on a wobble extension. And it will just fit on like this, super easy. A lot of people that I see, they go from the top, they make it so much harder on themselves. It's really easy to do it like this. There's one, and there's two. Next, after we get the hoses off, this one is not gonna come out. You'll take this hose out whenever you remove the AC compressor and take the 3 bolts off the AC compressor, and the AC compressor is free. Then you'll be able to take this hose off, and then whenever you put it on, you want to make sure that you put this hose on before you tighten the 3 nuts. But next up is just to disconnect the plug for the AC compressor, and we can start working on the 3 10mm bolts. All right, to take out the first bolt, I have one of those swivel socket adapters with a 10mm bolt on it, and you'll put it on this bolt right here, the one that I'm pointing out with the socket, and that one should be easy to get out. I'll let you know about the other 2 in just a moment. For the next 2 bolts, which is gonna be, one is gonna be here. Let me zoom in a little bit for you. One will be here, and the other one will be right here. So for these 2 bolts, they're not gonna come out all the way. They're gonna stay put in while you take out the compressor. But the tool that we're gonna need is a Matco, or it doesn't have to be Matco, but just a long reach ratcheting wrench. And we'll use the 10mm side. All right, real quick guys, to make your life easier to get to the top bolt so that way you can ratchet, your wrench, we'll go ahead and remove this ground strap right here. So we'll take out that bolt and then this bolt right here. I believe they're 13. They're gonna be 15 actually. All right, the good news is we got the AC compressor out. Now the job is just to wiggle and turn it and try to get it through. There we go, we almost got it. See it. Let me pull out this bolt from this hole. There we go. We can try to squeeze this on like that. And that's the removal of the AC compressor. This one, you can see the clutch has a lot of play in it, so it wasn't engaging. All right guys, now we're ready for the installation of the AC compressor. A couple things you want to do is just make sure it matches the bolt holes, plug, everything like that. You want to install the new studs and then change the O-rings, of course. And yeah, we'll go ahead and get it put into place. Do keep in mind that these two bolts here, you're gonna pre-install the bolts whenever you put in the AC compressor inside the truck. And then also before you bolt it down, you wanna hook up this AC line before you bolt it in. So what I did, I held the compressor from the bottom and I had the top bolt. I had a bright light so I could see the hole that's over here, and I reached my hand to just loosely tighten that bolt with my hand while holding the compressor up with my other hand, and the other two bolts should just line into place and get it tightened down. All right, so now that I have the top bolt loosely tied in, the compressor is held in place. This one is still loose, but it's hard to find the hole for it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go the easy route and line up this bolt first, and then the other one should tighten down in its place. Now that all three bolts are in their correct place, we'll go ahead and just tighten them down. All right, huge reminder here. Make sure, as I noted before, to install this line before you install the AC compressor or tighten up the bolts for it. My AC compressor is still loose. I pre-fitted the lines, and that way everything will just go in snugly with no issues. Or while the compressor was still loose, I decided to try and put the belt on. I felt it might be a little bit easier. You can do this before you tighten the bolts or after you tighten the bolts. I went ahead and did it before. It was pretty easy to get the belt on. Now it's just to tighten the 3 10mm nuts. All right, now that we have the 3 bolts tightened up and we have the plug installed and the 2 13mm nuts tightened, what we're gonna do next before we move any further is pull a vacuum on the system and make sure that it holds pressure before we go any further. All right, now that we have the vacuum completed and it held pressure and everything is good on that part, AC compressor is fully installed at this point. We're gonna go ahead and install our stabilizer shock here. We'll go ahead and put the bolt side down here, and then with the nut, just lightly tighten it. And then also a bolt here with the nut here, and we'll go ahead and put the shock back. After the shock, we'll go ahead and put the alternator back on and the belt after that. All right, so after the stabilizer bar, we're gonna go ahead and put in our alternator. I started one bolt, making sure all the wires and stuff are free, and then we'll line up. It's still movable. I can line up the holes and hopefully see if I could try to get the belt on while I'm here. One moment. So after the alternator is put on, we're gonna go ahead and put on the belt. I have my belt ran through the side of the frame now instead of under to get the main belt tensioner on. So it's kind of going up from the main belt tensioner and down. That way I can lift this one up to put the belt on. As you can see, I kind of got it in place. So I'm gonna go ahead and get it put on. Right, we made it to the point where we have our AC compressor fully installed, our alternator fully installed, the belt fully installed, the steering shock installed. We have our ground wire. Do not forget about the ground wire. This wire right here that goes onto the engine block installed. Pretty much the last thing to do is put on this fender liner, put on the tire, fill it up with Freon. So I'll see y'all after I get that done. All right, guys, well, there you have it. The only thing left to do is install the fender liner and the tire and put the trim back. Other than that, it's blowing cold AC. Everything is working good. No lights on the dash or anything like that. Didn't miss a plug, which is all great news. I'm glad y'all tuned in today. Please like, subscribe, and comment down below what would y'all like to see next, and stay tuned for more videos. Thanks.